Hello, welcome to a new video. It is time for my February reading wrap up and it's a pretty decent one again. I'm really glad with how I'm like forcing myself to slow down and not read 30 books in a month. Because whilst I was having fun with that, I'm managing to do other things as well as reading, which is great. So let's continue on with that throughout this year, shall we? But in the month of February, I read 15 books. There was a total of 5,193 pages and 34 hours of audiobook. I read a few like physical only books this month. I'm quite proud of myself. I had no DNFs, no 2 stars, 1 3-star, 4 4-stars, and 10 5-stars. And I don't think any of these were rereads. Nope, there were no rereads again. So I am smashing it so far with getting my TBR down because these are actual TBR books. So let's get stuck in. I started the month with House of Slaughter Volume 1 by James Tynion IV. This is the spin-off series to Something is Killing the Children, which if you know me, you know how much I absolutely love that series. This sort of, it has a split timeline, so it's taking place now and then 15 years earlier. So we're getting like, it's following someone who isn't Erica, it's following Aaron. But yeah, I absolutely love this. It was a 5-star. Are we shocked? No. I'm excited to continue this series. I do need to get more because this is the only volume I have currently. Next up, I read Fall of the Argosy by Sebastien de Castell. This is the second book in the prequel trilogy, which follows Farius, and I really enjoyed this. This was a 4-star, which I kind of expected that because whilst I do enjoy these ones, I don't enjoy them as much as the Spellslinger series, and this very much did feel like middle book. I started getting into it about a third into it, I think it was. So it took some time to get into it. But yeah, I am looking forward to finishing up this trilogy. But we shall see how long it takes me to get to that. But for now, 4-star for the second one. Next, I read 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This is the only one, I think, that wasn't actually technically on my TBR. But this is the novella that is set between books 1 and 2 in the Serpent and the Wings of Night series, Crowns of Nyaxia. Brain completely blank then and I couldn't remember the name of the series. I really enjoyed the first book and I'm really looking forward to reading the second book. And I actually really enjoyed this novella. It was a 4-star, which again, novellas don't tend to get 5 stars from me unless like there is a significant thing that happens that very much bridges the gap. And I mean, I don't know how relevant this book is going to be in book 2, but I'm glad I read it. I had a great time and yeah. Next is a book that literally went onto my TBR and off my TBR in a day. It was release day for Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood. This was obviously a 5-star. I was a little bit nervous about this because, as you know, even though I did 5-star Not in Love when I read it, I need to reread that because that doesn't deserve that 5-star. And I was really worried that I wasn't going to enjoy and my love for Ellie Hazelwood's books had come to an end. That was incorrect. Not in Love was a glitch in the system and we are back, baby. This was a 5-star. It was perfect. I loved it. I also am begging people who read this book to actually read the blurb and read the author's note at the beginning, because if you are going to DNF or hate this book because you don't have the reading comprehension, to read the author's note at the beginning that literally says, before you dive in, I want you to know that this work contains consensual and negotiated explorations of kink, in particular of power exchange. If you are going to read this book, not read that author's note and then bash this book online because it's too kinky, I want to throw something at your head. I personally don't tend to gravitate towards books like this because it's also a sports romance because it's between a swimmer and a diver. However, Ellie Hazelwood wrote it, so I will read it. And I ended up absolutely loving it. And if she writes anything else like this, I will read it because she writes it so well. I really enjoyed how everything was written. It was done so well. And as always, the smut was great. Next was The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. I can take this out now. This was to say that it was Chloe's pick on my 12 books. I'm really glad I finally read this. This was a 5-star. This was so cringy, but in the best way. I felt so nostalgic because I was this type of teenager. Like, with the fan fiction and all that jazz. And I cannot wait to continue this series because it was a fun time. So, 5-star. Thank you, Chloe. Next up was Throne of Secrets by Kerri Maniscalco. I was very confident I was going to love this, and I was correct. It was a 5-star. I don't know if I liked this more than Throne of the Fallen. I think it might be on the same level, but I am enjoying these ones a lot more than I enjoyed the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which, considering they were all 5 stars for me as well, says a lot. I really enjoyed the characters in this and how their relationship grows. I thought it was done really well, and I just had such a fun time with this. Next, I read volumes 4 and 5 of Spy Family. These were both 5 stars. I have the best time reading this, and I finally got to meet Bond, who's the dog, and he is even better than I imagined. Bond and Anya are going to be like the best duo, and I cannot wait to continue this series. If you've seen my March TBR, you know volume 6 is on that, because I'm going to need to continue this series, and it means I do need to actually get more volumes because volume 6 is the last one I own, so I'm going to need to get on that. But these were both 5 stars and I loved them. Next up, I read The Battle of Jeddah by George Mann. This is the next book I needed to read in the High Republic series, and this has been my favourite so far. This was a 5-star. I really loved how this was done, and I think if you're going to read this, read it along with the audiobook because that was an experience. It was so much fun, and because of this book, I'm adding a new planet to my TBR game. I feel like that's high praise. Like, I am fully adding Jeddah to my TBR game because of characters in this book. I'm very happy with that. I absolutely loved this. I loved the characters, and I'm really hoping we see these characters in later books because I want more from these. Especially Ada Forte and Creighton's son. Those two were amazing. Next up, me and Ash did a buddy read of Every Exquisite Thing by Laura Steven. This was a 5-star. I am not actually shocked this was 5-star. This was a really fun retelling. When I say fun, it wasn't fun in the sense of, oh, this is a great time. This was like a fun to read retelling, modern retelling of Dorian Gray. Now, Dorian Gray is one of the few classics I've read and actually quite liked. But it was really interesting to see a retelling, and it was a sapphic retelling as well, which was even better. But it was so well done, and I just had the best time with this. Next, I read one of my most anticipated books of the year, and if it hadn't been for me reading Deep End in this month, this would have been my favourite book of the month. It's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by Victoria Schwab. This book comes out in June, and I am absolutely like thrilled and so grateful that I got accepted for the eArchon NetGalley of this, because I had to literally finish the book I was reading and start this one because I needed this book in my life. And I'm happy to report it was 5 stars. So it gave me the same like happiness I got from reading Addie LaRue. It is nothing like Addie LaRue, and I will say this is toxic lesbian vampires, and when they say toxic, they mean toxic. But it was great. I absolutely loved this. I am just in awe of Schwab's writing every single time I read something new from them. Like, yes. Oh, I'm going to need everyone to read this book when it comes out in June because I am obsessed and I need someone to talk to about it. I think Katie might be reading it soon. I hope so, because I want to talk about it to someone. Next up, I finished a series thanks to my lightsaber. I think it was my lightsaber. Was it my lightsaber? Yeah. Yes, it was my lightsaber. And that's The Scarecrow Queen by Melinda Salisbury. I read books 1 and 2 back in like 2020. I think I read one in 2019 and one in 2020, and I just didn't read this book. And then I obviously pulled it in my lightsabers, and I was dreading reading it, not because I wasn't looking forward to it, but because there is no audiobook for this, and I, as you know, struggle to read physically if it's not like a graphic novel or like manga. So I was really worried about reading this. And then Kelly informed me that she also needed to read book 3. So she looked up a recap, told me the recap of book 2 because neither of us could remember, and we read this together, and it was a great time. This was a 4-star. It's been a 4-star series for me. I absolutely loved it. I have some issues, but I feel like my issues are more just like, I feel like if I had read this trilogy a couple of years before I started the trilogy, it probably would have been a 5-star for me. But I just feel like I'm at that point now where it's not a 5-star for me. But it was so cleverly done. There was especially a few moments where I was like, oh damn. So I love it when a book can do that. But yeah, a trilogy complete. Go me. I need to update my series tracker. And then another book I can update on my series tracker. I read Paris Dalincourt is About to Crumble by Alexis Hall. Now, this was my 3-star for the month. If you remember rereading book 1 in this series, this is the Bake Expectations series, I think. I think that's the name of the series. But it's a series, and it's like basically a rip-off of Bake Off, which is called Bake Expectations. But I read Rosalie Palmer Takes the Cake like last year, I think, and it was a 5-star. Absolutely loved it. Obsessed. Perfect. Brilliant. Amazing. This was not, and it's because I absolutely hated the main character. Paris was so annoying, and I feel like he was a bad representation of mental health. And I understand that everyone has different experiences with their mental health issues. However, as someone who has been diagnosed with the same anxiety, like type of anxiety as Paris, the way he was depicted just did not feel like, I couldn't relate to that at all. And it felt like it was very much fit in stereotypes, and I didn't like that. So that's why I got a 3-star. I had no interest in the love story happening because the other guy could do better than Paris. He was just a terrible person, and I just didn't like him at all. And yeah, I am looking forward to reading book 3 in this series because it is sapphic, and it won't have Paris in it, so it's fine. Next up, I read a book that's been on my TBR for as long as I think I got it the first weekend me and Ash spent together when we started dating. So it was the Edinburgh weekend where we told our friends that we were together, and it was great. So I have had this book for 2 years. It's Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jagada. I was pleasantly surprised by this. It was a 4-star, but it was a very high 4-star, and I actually had so much fun reading this. It was so well written. I loved these two. These two were great. The miscommunication was what you expect from a YA romance. So it was like the type of miscommunication you can let it slide because it makes sense because they are 17 years old. And like, I just felt like the story was so well done. And like I mentioned in my vlog a spoilery section about something, and I'm really glad that a certain thing didn't go a certain way with one of Hanny's friends, because if it had, I would have been really annoyed and it probably would have bumped the rating down. But the way it was handled was so well done, and I'm very happy I finally read it. And then that was my TBR finished with a few extras, but that was my TBR. And then I still had like 2 days left of the month and I wanted to read one more thing. So I just picked up Dinosaur Sanctuary Volume 2, which technically wasn't on my TBR because I only hauled it in February. But it's fine because I'm obsessed with this series, and I've actually just pre-ordered Volume 6 and ordered Volumes 4 and 5. Because when you see my haul, you'll also see that in February I acquired Volume 3. I have no regrets. Although, Volume 3, I did buy with a gift card that I got at Christmas. So, I didn't technically buy Volume 3. Anyway, it doesn't matter. this was a 5-star. I am absolutely obsessed with this series. If you don't know what Dinosaur Sanctuary is, it's basically a zoo for dinosaurs, but it's the cutest, most heartwarming thing ever. And it's not like Jurassic Park where they breed the, but they don't like breed them in the sense of like, oh, we found the DNA. So on the back, it's got what really happened. When dinosaurs were found to have survived to modern times, people were enthralled until a catastrophic incident drove dinomania to extinction. So yeah, like, it's not like humans that have recreated it from DNA. So it's not Jurassic Park, although even if it was, I would still be obsessed with it because let's be real, I love Jurassic Park. I love dinosaurs. But yeah, so cute. I'm obsessed with the dinosaurs in this and I just want every happiness, although the beginning of this was a flashback to 15 years before and it made me cry. But then the rest of it was very cute and I loved it. So 5 stars, obviously, and this is going to be a series I try and get to very quickly because I'm having so much fun with it. Although I'm scared to get to volume 6 when it comes out because then I don't know how long until volume 7. This is going to be a problem. But on that note, that was my wrap up. As I said before, my favourite book was Deep End. Are we shocked? No. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite book you read in February was. I took part in 2 readathons in February. I took part in Series TBR-a-thon and I took part in Forensic February and I completed my TBRs for both. So go me. I am very happy with myself. But I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye.